Coach Logan Parker, how are you?
I'm doing well, man. How are you?
I'm doing all right. How you guys doing with everything going on in today's day and age?
We're good, man. We're safe. We're happy. We're healthy. So we're blessed in that aspect.
Awesome, awesome. I'm glad you could join me today. Talk a little Army West Point,
Yeah.
baseball, academics, everything that you guys do. I always first thing I do when I see anybody that's a part of any military is, I thank the kids for putting themselves in that situation and sacrificing their lives and their times for us. So, extremely happy to have you guys on. Um, I know you come from Texas.
Mhm.
Um, you ended up going JUCO route, played at the University of Cincinnati, drafted by the Reds, and then your previous stop was at Odessa.
Mhm.
Um, Tell me a little bit about your background.
Man, you nailed it. The I spent 7 years at Odessa, from getting out of the playing game to being given an opportunity to coach, and figure it out on my own. I was at Odessa College for 7 years before I came here. It wasn't that I didn't have other options to leave. I had chances to leave, and it was home for me. I was born and raised there.
Hmm.
It was a community I believed in. It was a school I believed in. And at the end of the day, I don't believe in jumping jobs. I just want to be somewhere where I believe in the program, I believe in the institution. And obviously, when given the opportunity to come up here, what better place to do that?
Hey, listen,
So it was
absolutely.
something me and my family, we took a leap of faith, and it's worked out really well so far.
That's great to hear because, I mean, again, everybody's different. You see a lot of coaches bouncing from place to place every year, every 2 years. And again, it's everybody has their own vision, their own game plan. But it is good to hear when you hear guys like yourself speaking of, putting your roots down and making the best of the situation. So that's awesome.
Mhm.
Well, let's get right into it. Tell me about Army West Point, man. What, if you don't mind, let's start off with as a player, what are you signing up for?
You're signing up for an Ivy League education, right? First and foremost. And you're signing up to be a leader, right? Like, the difference in an Ivy League school and West Point is the leadership piece. And then obviously what happens on the back end of that, right? So when you come here, you're getting a free education. So you're not going to have to pay for your tuition, your fees, your room and board, anything like that. That's all covered up front. And what the Army asks from you, or what Congress asks from you, is that you go serve on the back end of that for 5 years. Um, and that can be a variety of things. That can be as close to the fight as you want to be, or it can be as far away from the fight as you want to be. But that 5 year piece is something that separates us from other people, right? That what separates the service academy from a normal institution is the 5 year
Hmm.
piece, right? So guys have to wrap their head around that. And it's something that they don't necessarily have to be 100% comfortable in when they come on a visit. They don't have to be comfortable with it their freshman year. As you go in this place, you have upperclassmen and you have people you can lean on that just constantly show you the ropes, and help you realize that it's extremely detailed, it's extremely organized. To the outside world, it may look like chaos, but it's not chaos, right? There's a plan, there's an action. Everything they do and everything our guys learn is extremely detailed with a big strategy in mind.
Yeah. And I know from going there in the past, team camps and et cetera, um, it is an unbelievable experience. You don't really understand the culture,
Mm.
and exactly what these guys go through until you're on campus. And being on campus, I mean, you got the beautiful background there. That's all you see. It is gorgeous. It is unbelievable, and rightfully, it should be, for what these guys are doing for us. Um, but you touched on something that I want to go more into. And I learned when I went to the camps, just speaking to coaches and players that are going through the process, which is it's an Ivy League education. Um, you have your Ivy Leagues, and then you have Army, Naval Academy, Coast Guard Academy, Air Force Academy, your armed forces. Um, some would even say that it may be even harder. Um, in the armed forces in terms of academic education with requirements and the workload you're putting through.
Sure, sure. You get an Ivy League education, but you add the military and the leadership piece to it. That's why there's more CEOs of major Fortune 500 companies that come from West Point.
Yeah, I
Think
did see that.
all of the Ivy Leagues combined, right? What major
Hmm.
selling point when you get out of the Army, whether it's after 5 years or it's after 15, 20, 30 years, whatever the case may be, and you go get out into the workforce, what place can you turn in a resume that says you graduated from West Point, that's not going to want to hire you for that job,
Yeah, yeah,
right?
absolutely. And um, I've heard about it. I want to make sure I'm correct by saying this. You graduate West Point, you are automatically an officer.
Yeah,
Um,
second lieutenant,
Second
100%.
lieutenant. Okay,
Hmm.
very good. Second lieutenant. And then you said you served your 5 years right after. Um, and after that, I'm assuming you decide whether you're going to choose that as your career in life or opt out. Am
Correct.
I in the right understanding?
Yep.
Beautiful. And if you opt out, I mean, like you said, you got yourself a nice resume there. Um,
Yeah. Yeah.
but so again, I love the academic side. I've always been big on academics, and I think that's what every player should shoot for. But you guys are no slouch when it comes to athletic achievements. Um, you know, 2 years ago, you go to the regionals, you knock off NC State, who was hosting the regional at that time. You've won the Patriot Conference numerous times, um, and your strength of schedule is absolutely amazing. You're kicking off down at LSU. You're not afraid to go play SEC, ACC type competition as a non-conference schedule. Tell me why. Why is that? Why is that the way you guys do things there?
I think that's just a culture that Coach Foster's created. What better way to, you mentioned winning back-to-back Patriot League championships. How's that happen? Because our guys are in a chaotic environment, right, on a daily basis, number one. And then also the strength of schedule that you play early will only help you in the back end. Like when you go play a mid-major, and not to say that mid-majors are bad, let's say you play just an average run-of-the-mill mid-major versus where we opened this year, we went to Duke and,
Yeah,
and faced Jarvis on Friday night. Like
yeah.
what better competition? And we leave Duke, we come home with one win, and then we go on the road to Texas A&M in one of the greatest environments to
Oh
play
yeah,
college
crazy,
baseball,
crazy
right?
environment.
In that setting, um, just to be in the venue itself, right? To go there and take BP and look around and go, man, this is really cool. Um, and then go play them, right? And you line up toe to toe with them, missing a piece here and there, just only like validates to your guys that the work that they're putting in is paying off, and it's going to pay off in the future. So you didn't come away with the win that weekend, but at least you know, hey, we went in there with the big boys and we went toe to toe, right? So that when we get into that regional tournament, hey, we've already been here, man. There's
Yeah,
not an environment that's like you mentioned the LSU's. There's not an environment like a Texas A&M that we're going to walk into that we haven't already been in. So I think it helps us not only in early in the year, but throughout the year in our league, and then obviously moving forward into the postseason when you get into those environments.
well, I know Coach Foster. He's always been like that, even prior to being at Army West Point as the head coach. He's always put the best of the best early in the schedule, and I know that it's a great motivational factor too as a player, being that you and I both played college baseball. When you know in the beginning what's going to come at the end, it kind of allows you to not sleep in that mid period of time where those days can become long and tiring. Just understanding what's coming, what's about to come at the end of your playing career. So that is awesome. I'm glad you guys do that. Um, Everything we just talked about. Obviously, you need to be a certain, special type of person to want to play at Army West Point. What type of person are you looking for?
A leader, man, a vocal guy, whether it's with your actions or whether it's with your words, right? So somebody who's not afraid to hold people accountable, even as a freshman, right? Like everybody has their pecking order, but once you step on the field, nobody knows if you're a freshman or a senior unless they're holding that packet in front of their hand that's got the roster on it. Somebody that's, yeah, like I said, a leader, accountable, hardworking, and ultimately intrinsically motivated. Like
Yeah,
you've got to have that certain motor inside to want to, number one, come to school here, right, and get this great education, but also number two, be able to balance the academic side with the athletic side. How much time are you willing to put on your body, like, and the work that you got to put in order to be a Division I athlete and still, maintain the academic side of it as well. But ultimately, at the end of the day, man, we're looking for quality people, leaders of character, guys that want to go serve our country at the end of the day.
Yeah.
They want to raise their right hand, and 5 years down the road, or 4 years after graduation, be an officer, go be a second lieutenant, and continue their path.
Yeah, and that's awesome. Obviously, we're in a bit of a different situation that we're familiar with the COVID-19 virus. It's tough to see no baseball during this time. It's tough to see that we're even having this interview and you're not on a field coaching right now. Believe me, I'd rather be watching you guys on TV than doing this interview, as much as I love talking baseball. If you don't mind, how's the virus affecting you all?
I think it's tough. I think it affects all of us in a different way. I will say that when you get into this profession, when I got done playing and I wanted to get into coaching, it's because you like to have relationships, right? I love to be on the field, the things you mentioned. I want to throw BP. I want to be in the cages with my guys, and I want to be working and grinding and on the back end of it, looking at scouting reports and watching videos and trying to help them as much as I can. But not having that relationship piece right now is tough. Right, that's the hardest part of this whole thing for me, and other coaches that I've talked to. We all miss that. We miss the bond. We miss, putting your arm around a guy when he's having a bad day. So that's the part we're struggling with. What we're getting better at is this stuff, right? Like the 2 weeks ago when I did our first Zoom, I didn't know how to put a background behind me. Now I kind of slide out of the way, and we've got our field, and you've got the library, and you've got Colum, and you've got all these beautiful things. So we've gotten better at this. We've gotten better at slowing down a little bit, and being able to talk to our guys, because that's ultimately, at the end of the day, what we're missing. So being able to do a face-to-face interview with our guys over the phone or over the computer, and see what they need and see how we can help them in this time, because they're the ones that are living it right now, right? Their world has been flipped upside down, and they lost their season, and now they're figuring out how to do schooling online and things like that. And they miss the camaraderie as well. I mean, they're in the team room, which you've been in, and with their guys and their buddies, and they miss that. So we put them all on a call together, and, they can sit there and laugh and joke, and we can get away from it for a second as coaches and just say, like, all right, you guys have the floor. And just to hear the banter that continues to go back and forth, it's good. It's still encouraging. It's still upbeat on that end.
Well, the more you can try to keep it as normal as possible, the better. So it's great to hear you guys are putting those steps in place. Now, like I said, I've been on campus. I've seen the facilities. They are top notch. The one thing that stands out every single time I step foot on the field, in the weight room, anywhere I go on that campus, it is the words "Beat Navy." And I absolutely love it. It gives me goosebumps. It's a cool type of rivalry you all have. I'm sure Navy has the same thing on their end in terms of Beat Army. But talk to me a little bit about that rivalry. Is it as cool as it looks? Is it as great as it is?
Yeah, man, it has to be, right? Like this, you don't know it almost until you're in it. And when I came up to interview for the job, there's a Beat Navy tunnel. You walk in the weight room, like you're saying, it's on every plate.
Every single thing.
Beat Navy, and it is a really, really, really unique and a really great experience to see. This year, seeing my first Army-Navy football game.
I was just about to ask if you have to go to the Army-Navy football game.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Just being in the stadium, walking around, seeing current, former, all of these people is unreal. I think, Coach Monken nailed it when he was interviewed before the game, our football coach. He said it's the one game, one event where everybody that's on the field competing is willing to die for everyone who's in the stands.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
What greater place? What better way to sum that up? Coach Monken nailed it. He really did. And what way, like when people say, is it the greatest rivalry in college sports? Look at that. And then you can also look at what other college sport or what other football game gets its own day. Besides
100%.
the national championship, Army Navy gets its own day, and that's the only other game.
Yeah.
So it's incredibly unique. It's when you mention it, like again, I get chills thinking about it. And it's a really, really fun environment to see and to be a part of from all sports, right? It's
Yeah.
not just football, it's not just baseball, but anybody who's competing against any of the other service academies, it's fun to be a part of that rivalry. You know, we got to play Air Force this year twice, and it means something, right? It's
Hmm.
different. The national anthem is something different. When you stand at when you're playing Air Force, you're playing Navy, or even when you're just representing Army, like when you're representing West Point. When you go on the road and you stand, you listen to the national anthem, it means something. People do come up to your guys and they thank you
And I was
because
going
our
to touch
guys are
on,
special.
do you guys, let's say you play, you go from playing LSU, Texas A&M, you come up, you play a couple teams in the Patriot Conference, and then all of a sudden it's Navy Day. You got Navy on the roster or on the schedule. Is there a different feel to that? Like, is it a different type of game? Does it mean more?
Yeah, I mean, it's just any rivalry. You're always going to have that chip
Yeah.
on your shoulder. There's always that one team that you're like, it doesn't matter if they're in the dumps or you're in the dumps or you're riding
Yeah,
high, whatever.
it's kind of like a O record, right?
Yeah, everybody. It doesn't matter who's on the mound. It doesn't matter what the temperature is outside. Like there's even playing field, right? The rivalry brings that out in
Awesome.
both teams.
Awesome. Well, like I said, I mean, you nailed it. I unfortunately have not seen an Army Navy game in person except on TV, and I still get goosebumps watching it on
Of
TV.
course.
But seeing the football field and again, every dumbbell, every plate, the rack, it all says Beat Navy. It is a cool thing. I wish everybody could get a chance to see that. But I want to go into my next question, which is I think a big misunderstanding from parents and players is that if they go into an armed forces program such as Army West Point, they're not getting a chance to be drafted to play Major League Baseball. Can you touch on that?
Yeah, let's put it this way. For most 16 to 18-year-old kids, their plan A is to play in the big leagues, right? I want
Yeah.
to pitch in the big leagues and I want to be a member of the New York Yankees, right? For all the kids in New York, like I want to play on the Yankees. Our funny story, our athletic director actually pitched for the Yankees. So
There you go.
Mike Buddy would know all about it. But that's your plan A, right? And the plan A realistically doesn't work out for that many guys. The best thing that we have is our plan B. This can be your best plan B, and it's better than anybody else's plan A in the country, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So yes, do you have an option to get drafted? Yeah, absolutely, 100%. So we always just encourage guys, don't hold that up, and because the other schools try to use it against us. They try to say that hey, if you go there, don't go to Army because you can't go play pro ball. It's 100% not
Yeah.
true.
Yeah. Well, what they can't say is that, like you said, and we tell our players all the time, there is a life after baseball.
Yeah.
Not many people get to do what myself or what you're doing right now and still be a part of the game in a different way. But, even if you are a Major League Baseball player, it comes to an end. And I don't know many other schools that can tell their kids, that they have a full-time career in front of them as a second lieutenant and have almost any job choice they'd like. So that is something special that you guys do offer, which is awesome. Listen, man, that's all I got. I appreciate you taking the time. I wish it was a little bit different. I wish we were watching you play instead of doing this, but this is the second best thing. And I can't thank you enough for taking the time out of your day and speaking to me regarding the Army West Point program. I think you did a terrific job. And I wish you guys the best. Tell Coach Foster I said hello, please. And hopefully, by the summertime, we might be able to meet each other face to face and get out there on the ball field.
Yeah, absolutely. Cody, I appreciate it, man. It's things like this that are keeping us all sane in this time, right?
Yeah.
So any way that it gives us as coaches a chance to speak about our program and our guys, right? They're the most important thing to us. So anything that we can do to help them or shine a little light on what they do or things that they go through or how special they truly are does nothing but help us. And it gives us a purpose for that day, man. It's awesome. So I appreciate you having me. I'll give Coach Bo a big hug next time I can see him and touch him. But
I
right
still
now
can't. I
it's
still
just a
can't get my
distance.
arms. I still can't get my arms around him.
No, that's a
he's
big
still
fella, but no, we'll be
he's
good.
still a big man. Well, listen again. Thank you. There is no feeling I can ever describe than standing there at that ball field behind you, hearing the cannons go off, the flag being lowered, the trumpets playing in the background. Unbelievable. We thank you guys again for all that you do for our country. And look forward to speaking to you someday soon.
All right, Cody. I appreciate it.
You have a good one.
All right. Take care, bud.
Bye.